Today, I'm speaking with Susie Jaramillo, Chief Executive Officer and co-founder at Encantos.
We're doing what Disney did. We're taking ubiquitous IP and we're bundling them into a beautiful nursery rhyme world, and we're presenting them to families as something that they can badge themselves with. As a result, we're solving an audience problem.
What has been your biggest lesson from building emotional connections through bilingual content?
Your marketing is your content and people should love it. Don't see a separation between the marketing and the content. It's all one thing. Social media is the real media. Also, being less rigid around your brand guidelines. In the world of social media, it just doesn't work that way. It's way more organic. And sometimes the most raw videos are the things that perform the best.
Hey everybody, thank you for listening. Today I'm speaking with Susie Jaramillo, Chief Executive Officer and co-founder at Encantos, an award-winning children's entertainment and tech company that focuses on bringing diverse stories and characters to life through apps, books, content, and consumer products. How are you doing, Susie? It's a pleasure to have you here.
Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure to be here, Andres.
Yes. No, we have been so excited, Susie, to get you on the show because after we've looked at what Encantos does and all your experience of the different roles you've had, this is going to be a very interesting podcast. So that we can put our listeners in context, Susie, please let me know and tell us a little bit more just about yourself, what Encantos is, and anything you think would be appropriate to share.
Sure. So a little background on myself. I'm actually an artist by training, believe it or not. I went to art school. And so creative is something and content that inspires people and moves the needle of humanity in the right direction has always been something that's been very satisfying to my soul. And I built my career actually in advertising. I actually built and sold one of the top Latino advertising agencies here in the United States. And in doing so, I realized that there was this tremendous opportunity around this thing that we call the Latin market, right? This is the U.S. Hispanic market, which is, 20% of people and 26% of kids. But when you look at the advertising spend, when you look at, the content marketplace, you see that, oh my goodness, the representation is really low. In the case of, Hollywood representation, it's like under 2%. When it comes to kids content, even though it's 26% of kids, it's under 5% of media targeting kids. And, at the same time, I was sitting here at these meetings with my retail partners that were like, how do we bring Hispanic families in? And in my head, I was like, build a brand. There's nothing out there. Own it, build it, And so when the tech platforms came out and I realized you could go direct to consumer and build your own cohorts of audiences, I was like, okay, this is it. I as an artist, as someone who loves content, who loves culture, who loves people, this is an opportunity. It's low hanging fruit. And I need to do this. And so that's how Encantos was born. Encantos is the product of, two families that came together with passion around what is content, what is tech, and what is, children, and specifically to solve the problem of representation for diverse kids. But we also think we're solving a huge retail opportunity because we know that stores are struggling, and we know that Latinos are driving retail purchases and a lot of consumer product growth. So we think we're solving a problem on multiple levels.
Oh my goodness. No, it just leave us to Latinos to always get behind a product that represents us culturally or that even actually appeals to us. Because in the States, I know it's not something that is recurring and could even be diminishing nowadays. The Latino market might not be expanding as before. That's amazing, Susie. And when talking about Encantos, how are you able to create content that kids love and that the parents will actually want to purchase or buy?
Yeah. So believe it or not, our flagship brand with Encantos is Canticos, right? And so Canticos is the #1 bilingual learning brand in the United States. If you think of what's a really well-known franchise, a kids franchise, right? In your head, a show, you might think, oh, Dora the Explorer, right? But what you may not know is that Dora the Explorer is 27 years old and she is a multi-billion-dollar brand. right?
Okay.
And so that just goes to show you the power behind building a kids franchise that people love. And a lot of people don't realize that when you build a kids franchise that lands, these become like multi-billion-dollar brands. Like, I mean, Winnie the Pooh is worth something like $72 billion, right?
Yes.
So this is the thing, like the business opportunity around children's content. And so I thought to myself, well, wait a second. Latinos, did you know that Latinos drove 70% more than 70, it's like 70+% of births in this country as of last year? Yeah, so we are still driving the population growth, and we're driving the population growth not through immigration. It's because we're Catholic. We have more babies.
Okay.
We have more babies. We have bigger families. We have bigger families. And so it's something like 48% of Latinos have kids versus 28% of non-Latinos that have kids. So we have more kids in our households here in the United States, and we are completely driving the population growth of this country. And if demographics are destiny, I know that we're just destined for success. So it's just a matter of time.
Of course. No, and I understand that if Latino families are driving the growth of the people and everybody at this and in the States and everywhere really where they are, it must be really interesting to create content for kids that parents like, because I do not imagine anybody more loyal than a Latino mother that show or whatever you provide actually works for her kids and is bilingual. It's like something that must work so well for them. That's
exactly right. And so we, you know, our look, when you're little, like people ask me, what was your favorite cartoon character when you were little? And to be honest, my favorite cartoon character was Pebbles from the Flintstone, because she was so cute. She was so cute. I know this is before your time, but I always loved a super sweet and super cute. And super sweet and super cute appeared from the landscape of children's media. And I know that Latino parents specifically love super sweet, super cute, and children love super silly, right? And fun. So when you combine cute with silly and whimsical, and then add on to that layers of just fabulous Latino music, because we know we make the best music. Come on.
We do.
We do. Come on, every party. Who's ruling the world right now? Bad Bunny, Shakira, right? So when you add on to this our amazing music, you really have a special something, right? That the market craves. And when you think about it, we're doing what Disney did. I mean, Disney did it with Hans Christian Andersen's fairy tales, right? He took IP that was in the public domain, right? The Little Mermaid, I was thinking of whatever, Sleeping Beauty, Snow White, all of these like public domain nursery rhymes. And he bundled them together and put them in a world. Well, we're doing exactly the same thing. We're taking ubiquitous IP, Los Pollitos, Un Elefante, Este Ping Pong, and, La Vaca Lola. And we're bundling them into a beautiful nursery rhyme world, and we're presenting them to families as something that they can badge themselves with. And so as a result, we're solving an audience problem, right? Because it's really hard otherwise to reach specific Latino families. It's really hard. It's hard to reach them because a lot of them here in the United States, they're watching HBO. Right? They're watching, they're watching Hulu. They're watching mainstream TV. Only, you'll find them on Univision only if they're Spanish dominant. They're on Univision. But
that's a classic.
No, it's true. It's true. And they're more there for the sports. Like, honestly, if Univision killed its sports, its audience would be like, So it's really, and so we're all over the place. We're a super fragmented audience that's really hard to reach. With Canticos, we super serve Latino families no matter their language dominance. Because what happens, you're an English-speaking Latino, first of all, we do everything in English and in Spanish. So you're going to understand everything, right? And secondly, you're going to value, the ability of your children to speak to their cousins or grandparents, right? And so that's everything. Like the language is kind of the glue. If your kids can't speak Spanish, they can't speak to your parents. And that becomes, you get in trouble with your in-laws. So, not to mention your parents. So with that, we knew we had something special with Canticos. And what we had to do was just execute it in an award-winning way to where it was a really premium brand. because the other thing is, Latinos are cifrinos. And how do I say that in English? Latinos, we are discerning. We're discerning viewers. We like high quality, premium stuff that represents us well. And you know what? We overspend. So we overspend compared to our household income and compared to our demographic makeup. And so at a given point, I remember I was working with General Motors back in my agency days, and the highest grossing the highest grossing dealership, GM dealership, was Miami, of course, right?
Of course.
So
the place of birth for all Latinos.
Yeah. So that's the thing. It's like, we love design. We love beautiful things. We love culture. We love music. And so we're creating a product, a brand, if you will, that really shows up for this market, and also shows up for moms that want to expose their children to a second language, right? To parents that value bilingualism.
Now, the educational the educational plus of it being bilingual, and as you mentioned, bridging that gap between the grandsons and the grandparents, and just making it a possibility for them to actually communicate well, is something beautiful. And Susie, I'd love to know, how do you turn Latino nursery rhymes, or the ones I know as well, because if the audience is not aware here, Susie and me are both from Venezuela, so that's why I have been mentioning so much the Latino culture. But how do you turn these Latino nursery rhymes into an actual modern brand experience that will resonate? Behind even the fact that just because it comes from the Latino origin, I believe it will. But is there something else to that formula?
Well, first of all, it's have world-class sensibilities when it comes to producing animation, right? So we work with the best studios and the best talent. I think the studio that put our initial package together was the same studio that did the Mickey Mouse reboot, right?
Wow.
So we work with really great talent. That's number one. Okay. So work with great talent. Number two, work with great musicians. And so we work with, Grammy-winning musicians in Latin funk, right? So we have Latin pop, Latin funk. So we're working with, and we're working with musicians that don't traditionally do children's music. They actually, they cater to more of the young adult market. Therefore, they bring a sense of cool to our music that most children's music doesn't have. And so if you think of one of the things that I love about what Disney did is that They Might Be Giants did the hot dog, hot diggity dog song for the Mickey Mouse Club. And if you don't have kids, you don't know it, but it's such a great song. Hot dog, hot diggity dog. And you're like, wow, that's such a fun song. And it's because They Might Be Giants did it, And so making sure that you work with talent that really is going to make music that parents are going to love too, because if parents love the music too, then it's going to be even more on repeat in the house. And there are so many, children's brands that parents hate. They really are. I'm not going to name any names, but I'm sure parents can think of a few brands that their kids like to watch that you just hate listening to. And we didn't want to be that brand. We want to be the brand that brings joy to parents and to kids. And so we'll see videos. This is one video that I love of a woman that posted on social, and it's like her cleaning the house with her kids sound asleep. And she's like, this is me now, cleaning the house to Canticos music. The kid's asleep, but I'm still happily cleaning my house to Canticos music. And that's a win for us.
No, and I totally get what you mean there, because some of my friendships are already having kids, and their kids are not even a year old or maybe a little bit older. But what keeps them calm is these TV shows or these things that they put on YouTube. And it's these songs that just get in their head, and kids need to repeat it endlessly. And it's so funny that I go to these parents' houses to see the kids, and I talk to the parents because they're my friends, and they only have in their heads the songs that their kids listen to. And it's let's be here. Let's spend some time talking, but we'll have now I'm going to shield Canticos and ask them to play it while we're there. Yes. But they had anything else on, and it was on repeat, and the child was sound asleep. But you could see the parents always singing to the music and just have it in the back of their mind all the time. And it was a whole topic of conversation. So now that I have better music that I can actually recommend to them that their kids will like,
Yeah.
That would be amazing. So,
And by the way, one of the things that we do is we take advantage of that repetition. So we'll do something, we'll do it in Spanish, and then we'll repeat it in English with the insight that when you repeat it, when the child wants it again, and you do it in that second language, you're really helping with the language acquisition skills. So if they're in Latin America, their children are learning English with us. And if they're in the United States, their children are learning Spanish with us.
that's amazing, of course, because they know the melody, and once they know the words from one language, they'll be able to make the connection to the other. Oh, that's such a genius idea, Susie. It's so nice.
First of all, actually, if you see our books, just really quickly, our books are reversible. So this is Sol Solecito, Caliéntame un poquito.
Okay.
In one side it's in Spanish, and in the other side it's in English. And so lo abres, right? And you go through, and it's interactive, lift the flap, and all this stuff, right?
Okay.
Pero termina otra vez in English. And so that's our whole thing. Otra vez en español, otra vez in English.
Wow. I had never seen a book like that. So that sets you apart
we
from all
invented
the other brands. And Susie, is there any like type of process for testing the characters or the products that will make sure it's going to connect with the audience?
So because we're a YouTube brands, we don't have to worry about that. The audience will let us know in all of 2 hours whether it works or not. And me da risa porque acabamos de sacar, we put out the Vaca Lola, and she was a hit. I was so thrilled. We got 2 million views in 2 weeks, right? And so we were like, amazing. Like, the Vaca Lola is a hit. And now we just put out Chivita, Sal de ahí, Chivita, Chivita. And already it's taking off. We're getting, 3 times the amount of views we normally get. And it's just, I'll leave it on the air for a couple of hours. So viewers will let us know quickly if they like a new character or not.
Oh,
and if they like it, excellent, we lean in. And if they don't, move on. It's the beautiful of the...
2 million views in 2 weeks. That was for La Vaca Lola.
La Vaca Lola. Yes.
I love it. And yeah, metrics are the best way to know what's happening and what's not. I think after this show, after we finish the episode, I'm going to put Canticos on YouTube and just listen to everything, because it just it must be so interesting. And okay, next question up is, Susie, is there a type of balancing that you need to do between the educational messaging, the Spanish, the English, and the entertainment that you make for the consumer market?
So I have a core philosophy that if you're not entertaining, you're not educating. You're boring.
Okay.
It's that simple. Because if a child is not engaged, you will not be able to teach that child anything. So you need to start by engaging and entertaining the child, and then you sneak in the learning. Now, our songs are always going to have a little bit of learning, because there's always the literacy component, right? So there's always they're always going to be learning words, and they're going to be learning vocabulary, and they're going to be learning it in 2 languages. So there's always our sort of ground floor is always going to be language acquisition, right?
Okay.
Now, on top of language acquisition, we might do something like the days of the week. Like, for example, in Sol Solecito, we teach the days of the week. Or with Dale, 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 we teach, we'll teach shapes. And so what we do is we figure out if there's a moment where intuitively it makes sense to teach learning. Por ejemplo, it's like, we broke a piñata. Well, what comes out of the piñata? Ooh, triangles. Heart-shaped lollipop. Rectangle little dollar bills with a chicken face. You know what I mean? So we'll come up with intuitive ways to do the learning. And then sometimes it really is just a nursery rhyme, like Sal de ahí, Chivita. It's kind of a little lesson about like stubbornness, because it's a little stubborn Chivita, and she does not budging with peer pressure. And everybody tries to make her do stuff, and she's not budging. But then, when everyone leaves, she decides to budge on her own terms. Wait a second, I do want to go play. No, everyone's leaving. Let me go. You know what I mean? I think we don't follow traditional formulas in terms of the separation between educational curriculum and entertainment content. We see it as it's all entertainment, and we're gonna leverage this content body to teach as much as we can. So if we do an oopsie, I'm sorry song, it's really about teaching children, hey, something goes wrong, you can say you're sorry and make things better. Or
Okay.
the thank you song, where you can just meditate on the fact that being grateful for things makes you happy, right? So we have a very 21st century approach to education, and our parents seem pretty grateful for it. It seems to be working.
And I really like it, like, because what you're saying are like core values with which I was even raised with, and that was 30 years ago. So it's something that I believe is always timeless, and it's what people want their kids to learn. So if that's embedded there and it doesn't feel forced within the entertainment, I think you got a perfect formula there. And Susie, I'm not sure if this has ever happened to you, but since you actually, since your brand has representation of Latino culture, and I believe there must be some stories that are more specific to other cultures like Latino ones, how do you manage the feedback from communities when you try to represent them? Is that something that happens?
Okay. So normally everyone's just thrilled. Like, we did Wheels on the Bus, but we did a chivita. A chiva from Colombia. You know how those chivas are super colorful and they have all the stuff on the top? We did that. And then Ping Pong is obviously Mexican. But I will give you an example. We did a little celebration, a little coloring video for 4th of July. And we got some feedback of like, hey, the flag isn't so great. Why are you showing us the American flag? The American flag isn't very popular right now in the Hispanic community.
Of course.
Because, the American flag is, instilling fears in certain communities. Right. And so we had to respond to that because, and in no moment are we ever going to relinquish the American flag. And in fact, we've designed our own Canticos version of the American flag where we take our stars and we turn into a heart. And so it's a heart in the corner, and then porque nosotros le ponemos el corazón en todo, because we put the heart in this country. And so I, as the CEO, made a video to talk about the fact that, listen, we have to own this flag as Latinos here in the United States, as proud Latinos in the USA. We need to own this flag, and we need to show people who we are. And I understand that certain communities may feel like this flag is now a symbol of exclusion, but it's not. For us Latinos in the United States, we need to keep the integrity of the flag. And we need to keep emphasizing that the flag should represent our values as Latinos in the United States. And so that was probably the first time we ever got real feedback of that wasn't positive for what we do. And so I would say in general, people love it when we put, we put little Mexican details or Colombian details or Puerto Rican, or we're about to do something that's very Cuban, right? And you'll see it's a son. But I think that's the beauty of the U.S. Hispanic market. It's this just mix. It's a cacophony of different, Latino cultures all mixed up. And it's unique to the USA. Like, the USA is its own Latino country. Did you know that there are more Spanish speakers here than there are Canadians in Canada?
I did not know that.
Did you know that Spanish is the longest continuously spoken European language in this country? That the Spaniards were here before the Pilgrims, and that the entire southwest of the United States was colonized by Spain before it was colonized by the British or any other of the European countries. So the reality is, the United States is a Latino country. It's just a Latino country with more English.
Of course. I know. I do get that when you mentioned that the Colombian family, if you put something that's Colombian there, they'll get excited, or the Cuban families. But it must be true, because you and me both know, since we've lived away from our homes at certain points in our lives, that whenever you see a representation of what was your home anywhere else when you're not there, it just feels like a safe space. And it feels like somewhere you want to return to.
Yeah, I think that's a core value. It's nostalgia. In the same way an American family might see Curious George or Goodnight Moon, and it reminds you of your childhood. People see Canticos and it'll remind them of their childhood. Even though Canticos didn't exist 30 years ago, they'll hear our songs, and we get passionate love letters from families that are like, "Oh my God, you gave my child my childhood."
I excuse myself for comparing Canticos to wine, but it just seems like it's going to age so well with time. And as the kids grow, those kids are going to remember it for their childhood and they'll play it for their kids. So it's like an endless business.
So mark my words, Canticos will last longer than I do. And that makes me very proud.
I think that is the goal because you're going to leave a legacy if that happens. And that is amazing, Susie. That's amazing. And tell me something else. What has been your biggest lesson from building emotional connections through bilingual content?
So I think that, I've learned a lot. And it's not a single lesson. Remember, I came from traditional advertising to building an entertainment tech startup, leaning into educational content that would reach families in a direct to consumer way. Right. So one, the responsive ecosystem that all marketing has to live in now. Right. You've got to be plugged in. You've got to be responsive. You have to understand what audiences are looking for and you have to deliver. Number two, really just thinking that people just have to enjoy, like your marketing is your content and people should love it, right? And so don't see a separation between the marketing and the content. It's all one thing. I used to say, oh, social media takes away from making real media. But now it's like, no. Social media is the real media.
Okay.
It is the real media. It's content. It's content snippets. It's just shorter and it's just as important. So really seeing everything, marketing and the content that we make, I see it as kind of all one thing with different formats and different, calls to action. Okay. And then also being less rigid around, things like, your brand guidelines and all these things that we used to be really, really rigid about back in the day. In the world of social media, it just doesn't work that way. People,
it's more organic.
It's way more organic. And sometimes the most raw videos are the things that perform the best.
That's true.
So it's like almost when you try to be too, controlled, people don't, they're like, this is corporate speak, So,
people don't fall for the overproduction of the content you make. It needs to be like genuine and made in the moment, and they must know that you're not lying to them.
Exacto. So, a lot of that, and then what else? We're very clear on our audience, and I think that part of what gives us clarity as a business and as a brand is that we're inspired by culture, and we're starting with Latino families because it's the low-hanging fruit and it's what we know best. Eventually, hopefully, we'll expand into other cultures. I would love that. And we do have a Every
time you say low-hanging fruit, all I think of is mango bajito. So you gotta go on that.
Yeah, that's right. But the truth is that this is also the audience that's driving most business growth, whether it's in telecom, whether it's in consumer products, whether it's in retail and automotive. It's really this audience that's driving all the growth. I mean, we need bigger cars because we have bigger families. You know what I mean? It's like this is and we spend more on phones because we're on the phones all the time. Yes. And we're over indexing on social media and we're buying more online because we're on our phones all the time. You know what I mean? And so these are So these are just consumer insights that if you understand it and if you happen to be both a marketing expert like myself, but also from the culture and also from the general market. Like I've presented to many a CEO, sort of like laying out what is the Hispanic market or a CMO, where the opportunities are, how their shopping habits, their media consumption habits. So we're just basically taking everything that we've learned from marketing to this demographic, and we're supersizing it with a content-led brand that also has products that they can subscribe to or buy.
Oh, wow. Okay. Now, you have it all thought out, Susie. It seems like such a flawless plan. Oh, my goodness. And is there any plans to have, because from my understanding, it's Encantos and Canticos is a product that is coming from Encantos, right?
That's right, a flagship brand.
Of course. And are you guys expanding beyond Canticos is there anything else under the way?
We have a brand called Tiny Travelers, which is slightly smaller, and it's mostly books. And it basically, the idea was to help raise citizens of the world. And so it introduces countries and cultures to children at a very young age. So they're beautiful. We have Colombia, we have India, we have China, Japan. So we have a myriad of different countries, and those books have done especially well in libraries and classrooms. People really love that series. We have another series called Skeletina and the In-Between World. And Skeletina helps children deal with their fears and nightmares. So she's a little girl who lives in the in-between world. And when kids come and they're having nightmares and scary dreams, Skeletina helps them diffuse their nightmares. And she does that with humor, and she just helps them figure out this really crazy in-between nightmare world. And so we've put out 2 Skeletina books, and now we're in conversations to do the series or the movie. So that's there.
A series or a movie for Skeletina. Yeah. Oh my God, exactly. I love the name. It's just so cute.
But now think about it. Do you remember your dreams? Are you the type that remembers or not so much?
I do remember my dreams. I actually try to write them down because I want to astral project, but that's another story.
So I used to have really intense nightmares, and when I'm from a very Catholic family. And so I would wake up and I would go to my mom and I would say, Mom, I had a nightmare. And she'd be like, did you do something bad? And say your prayers and go back to sleep. You know what I mean? And that's it. So she never helped me with my nightmares. And then finally I was like, I'm just going to let myself drown, because I had this constant nightmare that I was drowning. And so I let myself drown. And then I discovered that I could breathe underwater. And then once I discovered that I could breathe underwater, I learned to fly. And then I learned to reverse time. So once you let go of your fears inside of your dreams, you can lucid dream and like control them. And like my nightmares stopped right there. And so I was like, Conchale. And then my daughter has the same thing. Wouldn't it be cool if there was a girl that would help kids kind of let go of their fears and like, let the worst happen to me. I'll be okay. And isn't that a great lesson for life? Let the world.
That's beautiful. Just letting it flow and making the best of it.
Flow. I refuse to make decisions based on fear. Let it flow. I'll say that, right?
No. It really is. And I love how it started to sound like a superhero movie, Susie, because you learned how to breathe underwater. You learned to fly, reverse time. I'm like, oh my God.
Wes, in your dreams, you are a superhero. And that's part of what Skeletina teaches kids.
It's true. No, literally you said that. And like a month ago, I had a dream. I was underwater making friends with different fish. I knew I was underwater. So I think it was a lucid dream, but it was.
You are ahead of the curve. You are ahead of the curve. You are already breathing underwater, my friend.
Aquaman ain't got nothing on us.
You're good.
Okay, and bringing it back to the topic at hand, Susie, is there any strategy that you have? Because since you're telling me you're creating books, you have Canticos, you have maybe a series or movie in the picture for Skeletina. Is there like a strategy you use to compete with brands that have bigger budgets or have more time in the market, but maybe less cultural authenticity?
So that's such a great question. Like, how do we disrupt and how do we compete? So every single big studio brand wants to work on YouTube. Nickelodeon wants to work on YouTube. Disney wants to work on YouTube. They're all launching content now on YouTube first before they launch it on their channels. Right?
Okay.
And so, like it or not, for good, the tech industry has permanently disrupted the media industry. Right? And so brands that work on YouTube and brands that are fan fueled win, just hands down. Because in the past, you had a monopoly on eyeballs, right? And you could just make hits, right? And something would only flop if it was bad because you had a monopoly on the eyeballs. Nowadays, you have no monopoly on the eyeballs, right? And so the ones that develop a following are the ones that are solving an audience problem, right? And so Canticos solves an audience problem and therefore has organically grown to just under 1 million subs And we get about, 15, actually, when you throw in music, it's about 18 million streams a month, right? That's actually larger than the eyeballs that most cable channels will get.
Okay.
Right?
No, and that's crazy because like I imagine the monopoly you referred to in the past was that Disney would put out a movie and they just put it in every cinema and that was the only way to watch it. So it was like now with so many screens and the YouTube channels and free content.
Even just I mean look, let's put it this way. I want to say and I'm not really good with time frames, but I think 20 years ago maybe the broadcasters were like real players, right? You had the big five or whatever and kids were watching TV. Right. So 20 years ago, if you wanted to launch a piece of IP, you would launch it on TV and it would be a big thing. Right. Mm-hmm. Nowadays, you can launch it on TV and nobody will care. Nobody will like it. It's just kids aren't watching TV. Sure. Right. So what's the biggest kids brand right now? It's Coco Melon. Right. Where did Coco Melon come from? It came from YouTube.
Wow.
Right. And so that's just the reality of where at 90%, I think there was a slide was like 90% of kids viewing comes from YouTube. So we already have a competitive advantage with the fact that we are on YouTube and we work on YouTube and we grow organically on YouTube. Our competitive advantage after that is our community. The fact that we're in real time in touch with our fans. Our fans write us, we respond. We're currently creating creator tools on our website for our community because Canticos birthday parties are really popular. And we've actually struggled to find a birthday party partner, like a Party City or a Target or a Walmart that wants to carry our birthday party supplies. And so people are going to Etsy. And si te metes en Etsy and you type Canticos, you'll just see all plethora of stuff on Etsy. And so we're like,
this is fan made?
It's all fan made.
That is community.
It's all fan made. And so I'm like, okay, wait a second. And then they write us, where can I get a Canticos cake? Where can I get a Canticos piñata? Where can I get, blah, 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 blah. And so I'm like, we're going to create Birthday Party Central on our website so that people can come to us and they can actually make interactive invites with a tool that we're going to create. Right. And then they can send it to their friends. And by the way, that'll bring all of their friends to our website too. Right. So it'll be traffic growth for the website. But then we can also sell them digital products, right? And we can help them make personalized T-shirts and make personalized birthday banners y todo ese tipo de cosas. So it's like we need to be smart about how we leverage today's tech tools to get people to play with our assets and our content to make things for their kids. If that makes any sense.
No, it makes complete sense. And just leave it to a Latino mother to want to give her kid a themed birthday party of whatever is the fever they have of the moment.
They're weddings, these parties. I swear to God, they're weddings. You see them and you're like, oh my God. And also, el secreto is I never did a huge party like that for any of my kids. Pero what are Venezuelan birthday parties like? Right? What are Venezuelan kid birthday parties like? There's the blow-up castle. There's the clown. There's the miniteca. The reality is Latinos go all out on birthday parties. We just do.
It's crazy. Like I remember my grandma making birthday parties for me when I was younger. And it was like her whole house was the birthday party place. And there were kids everywhere.
Growing up in the States, my mom would invite people to my garage and we would play musical chairs. When I went to Venezuela to my cousin's birthday, they had an ice cream person just giving out free ice creams that they would make on the spot. I was like, oh my goodness, I had never.
It's true.
You know what I
mean? Talking about this, it takes you back, and it's like hot dogs and frescolita, which is
frescolita. And then there was a payaso, a clown that would entertain the kids. There were all these cutouts, and my aunt. So, fun fact: my aunt was one of the top 3 cake makers in Venezuela. So she made really, she died recently, but she made really elaborate cakes, whether it was a quinceañera, a baptism, a birthday. She would make really fabulous cakes. And as a kid, I used to bring her like things like record covers or like, or whatever I could find that had like Disney or Nickelodeon or character art. And then she would base her designs on the character art that I would bring her. This is ages ago, right?
Oh my goodness.
There was no internet. So if you wanted beautiful Disney poses, you had to have a picture file where you saved stuff, right?
Okay. Okay.
But yeah, it's fast forward 40 years, and she's making Canticos cakes. But anyways, beautiful.
No. I'm going to need to see what all of Canticos is about, because I can't handle the curiosity. Like, I need to know, because I looked up Encantos, but I didn't go that deep into Canticos. And now I bet by next week, I'm going to at least have one song memorized, just because it's not going to leave my head.
Well, you're the right age demo. You're the right age demo. I bet if you ask some of your peers, you'll see that they're familiar with it, hopefully.
No, I can't wait to go to any of my friends' houses now where their kids are at, and just like subtly just play Canticos without anybody knowing and seeing if it works. I'm gonna die if those kids start to speak English as well. Exactly. And Susie, I know we're almost we're a little bit over time, so I don't want to keep on taking any more of yours. But if you could give one piece of advice to marketing leaders, CEOs, or anybody who's trying to actually build a culturally authentic consumer brand, what would you tell them to prevent them from getting it wrong?
I would say drop the mindset that programmatic media is where it's at.
Okay.
I think that we need to think more partnership versus programmatic. I think that the algorithm will not necessarily deliver the soul and the brand loyalty that a partnership will really deliver. I think that people rely on programmatic because they think, oh, it's fast and it's scalable. But the reality is you get a lot of irrelevant impressions. There's a ton of spillage, and there's a lot of like wasted money on bots. But I think that partnerships with brands really deliver long-term value. And I think that people need to look at media less as a media spend and more as a media build. Like, stop just throwing money out there. The media landscape has been completely disrupted. Build something. Support something with meaning. Support something that delivers on your brand promise that's going to make you look good. So I think that, partnering with brands that create the right cultural context for your brand, that read the right media, I think that is really how leadership brands should be thinking. That's probably my most poignant piece of advice for the CMO today. Or the senior level brand people. Really think partnership as something that will build long-term brand value, not to mention equity in your brand for the right customer.
Okay. No, that's perfect. And I'm also taking away from this whole conversation the fact that create something that solves your audience's problem. So that's where Canticos bilinguality came in, and how you show these kids and present them the cultures that they're away from. So that really is beautiful. And now we are going to listen to Susie's second recommendation for everybody. So go ahead, Susie.
Yeah. Okay. So my second record. So I wholeheartedly disagree that the notion of if you use culture, you're going to alienate the general market. This notion that if you do something that's, Latino or using Black culture, white folks will feel like they don't belong. The reality is that if you look at the Billboard top hits or on the streets of any major U.S. city, you're going to see diversity. I like to say in the year of our Lord Bad Bunny, who is topping the charts globally, go to any major club in the United States, you're going to hear Latin music. Go to any conference in the United States, you're going to eat Mexican food. The reality is Latino is mainstream. That's one. And then the other thing I wanted to say is this notion that, we're a niche audience. When 1 in every 4 American kids is Latinos and nearly half of all millennial parents come from Latino backgrounds, that's not niche, that's mainstream. The reality is the future of the market in the United States is bilingual and bicultural. And the big brands know it. If you look at what PepsiCo does, Coca-Cola, Kellogg's, General Mills, McDonald's, they're leading in this area because they understand this. So there's a reason they're category leaders.
Okay. No, and that is true. Like, it keeps on growing because Latinos are also moving away from their home country and trying to go abroad, looking for better opportunities. So I think it's a little bit unavoidable that we become mainstream. And plus, we're so nice. What can we do?
Honestly, when you think about who are people that pick up and they move away from everything they know and love, and they learn a new language and they build again from scratch, that's a very hardworking individual. That's a very ambitious individual. That's an individual that most likely will go far. And so I feel like immigration in itself is a filter of a really hardworking individual that just has high aspirations for themselves and their family. And I think that's played out with Latino audiences in the United States.
True. I totally agree with that. And as a fellow immigrant, I must say, I believe I passed that filter. So I am proud to be a Latino and be an immigrant and be where I am at, because it was not easy. And that is something that I believe it creates a lot of fortitude in people. So that's beautiful. That's a beautiful message.
It really does.
Thank you so much. And well, to all the audience, thank you so much for listening. We please ask of you to go and listen to Canticos. If you love it, give it a like and subscribe. And also, if you like this podcast, please do subscribe as well. Susie, it has been a pleasure, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.
Oh, thank you, Andres. Muchísimo gusto.
Igualmente, Susie. Ciao, ciao.